Hey everyone, a bit of a different video today. A movie review, not the toy review on this channel. I did used to have another channel for this kind of stuff, but I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna put that here because this is related to a lot of toys we talk about on this channel, DC McFarlane, like Multiverse stuff. But yeah, so I saw The Flash actually last week, a preview screening as it were, but I didn't want to do a video about it. I wanted to let it sit in my brain for a while and see if I still feel the same a week later, a few days later, etc. But before we go over that, here are some goodies I got. Here is a The Flash pin badge. Just gonna stick that right there. I got some of these little collectible cards. What they are, they're just like the different posters done in little card format. And have a seating card, which is also a mini poster. That's kind of cool. On the back of it, we have some words from the director himself. It means so much to both Barbara and I to finally be able to share an early screening of The Flash with you. You're one of the first in the world to see it before it opens in cinemas in June. This has been an incredible 4 years journey, and we are so proud of the film and the work of the entire cast and crew. On behalf of everyone involved in making the movie, we hope you enjoy The Flash and the Muschietti director. I said that right. And also comes with this mini comic, Worlds Collide. Feels really weird that it's not like a Wonder Woman on Lunar, it's this Flash in the Batman, Superman, Infinity and stuff. So this is a mini comic book. It's basically talks about how the Flash upgrades from his Snyder Justice League sort of suit to the suit you see in the trailers, the more sleek one, I guess. And the art style here is fine. None of the characters look like the actors. It's okay. And you go to the last page, actually tells you the title of this book, Stronger Than Steel. And the story in here, The Flash, feels more like the animated series Flash from Bruce Timm, and not this one. Like this one, kinda, but the thing he does in here is very reminiscent of that famous clip you see with him talking to the trickster. There's some heartwarming stuff that happens in this comic book related to the villain that they, capture and put in prison. So that's really nice. I do like this book a lot. Finally, I got this flat poster, which is kind of cool. My friend who invited me to the screening, because he's like doing a review on it as well, he got the Batman poster. But it's still cool getting the Flash one, I guess. And this weird thing, like the paper's so thin or something, or the ink goes through, because if you flip it around, it's like a grayer version of it. But I mean, it's mirrored, of course. But oh yeah. So in regards to the toys, I have picked up the McFarlane Batmobile from this movie. I intend to repaint this like people have done and turn it into a two-seater. I'm still waiting for my Mezco 89 Batman. Don't know where that is right now. Shipping problems or something. Right, so on to the movie review itself. I'm going to put a warning up there. I'm going to start with non-spoilers and I'm going to move on to the spoiler section. So stay tuned for that if you want to. I've also read the difference between the preview version and final version, as well as what the original end credit scene was and what the actual end credit scenes are, because that was leaked a few days before filming this. So I'm gonna, not seen, I'm going to talk about it too if it is in the spoiler section. So first of all, let's talk about the actors. Keaton is spot on. It's like he never left the role. Growing up, I used to watch the Keaton Batman movies on VHS. They would blow out because I watched it so much, rewind it so much. I would upgrade to VCD and a DVD and a Blu-ray and a 4K. So I was really excited to see him again. In fact, one of the first hot toys I have, well, the only hot toys I have, is the Keaton Batman released almost like 50-ish years ago. And yeah, he's amazing. He's like Alec Guinness from Star Wars: A New Hope. He's not the main character. He's not the main focus. The story is not about him. And yet every time he's on screen, he's amazing. He's great. He still has that acting thing where he's talking about something, he does a flinch, looks over in the corner, like he's thinking. He still does that, and it's just amazing to see. Some of the sets look pretty good as well. Like from the original movie, they copied it. It was like nostalgia overload. But when he's in the batsuit, obviously it's all CG there. It's good when the Danny Elfman music hits in and it links. Just reminds me of like the animated series, but live and live action. That's really all I wanted to see. So it's like cheering when a similar thing happened to me when I was watching Batman Begins, when he first pulls the guy out with the rope and the guy's hanging there upside down and he's questioning him, like threatening him. That's so animated series Batman, and I love seeing that on the big screen. So yeah, the Keys of Batman's great. The other Batman, Ben Affleck, when he's on screen as Bruce Wayne, he does look a little bit skinny. Is he a little bit sick or something? I don't know. But his acting is great, as always. When he's in the batsuit, the chase scene, action scene, which is actually near the beginning of the movie that you see in the trailers as the bike, is really, really good. All of that captures again what I want to see Batman do in live action when I compare it to the animated series. It is so good. Like, it's really good. Main actor, I guess, Ezra Miller, he's fine, really, compared to these other big actors, experienced actors. He's okay. He is acting two versions of himself. The young version actually gets on my nerve a little bit, but not to the point where it damages the movie. It kind of makes sense that he is like that, but at the same time, his character also comes down. But when you first see him becoming like, what? That's, I guess, they have to make the two versions really different, but still, that's a little bit annoying. Tone that down just a little bit. When he's being the actual Flash, I've seen the Justice League and stuff, he's okay. He gets the serious beats in when he needs to, and he gets a little bit silly when he needs to. It's fine. Supergirl is Sasha, I think her name. She is okay. Some people don't like her because she doesn't emote a lot, but due to the reasons that have the story that happens in the movie, it actually makes sense. I won't say too much going on in there, but it makes sense. She's acting the way she is. She's a bit isolated and jaded from other humanity and stuff. And when it comes to the point where she does need to emote, her character snaps into it, and I think it's quite good. Yeah. So for the movie itself, the action scenes are quite amazing. I know people looked at the trailers and like, oh, the CG looks really weird in movie and stuff. But when you're watching the entire movie, everything is moving, it's in high def and stuff. It looks fine. Like, the CG is fine. Like, okay, it does get a little bit cartoony sometimes, but when you put the whole thing together, when everything comes together, you don't really notice it too much, or I didn't. Like, the action scenes were pretty good. Than what I want to see, Supergirl, Flash, or Batman. They do what they're supposed to do, and they got their strengths, their weaknesses, it's all there. As for the rest of the movie, for me, the storyline, if you are familiar with Flashpoint in the books, the TV series, or even the animated movie, this is not that Flashpoint. They brought elements from it, but they change it just enough that it doesn't feel retread. Like, you're not fully expecting the same things to happen, which is good because I've seen all those versions of Flashpoint. I do not need to see another version of Flashpoint. Unfortunately, that means that we're not going to see a big live-action Flashpoint anytime soon because we've done this movie, we're just close enough to it. And it doesn't make sense for this Flash to do a Flashpoint because he's already learned this lesson, like, don't mess with, like, time and stuff. So we're not going to see that. But the overall story is fine. It's quite easygoing. You get the emotional beats of him seeing his parents, but everything else it goes along very fast. And overall, it's fine. I would have preferred to see the original Flashpoint story because I will say the villain is missing something. It doesn't have an impact on the final villain, as it were, shows up. There's no big. When the lesson is learned, the impact isn't really there. It kind of flops at the end. It's just like, oh, but that was. It's like missed opportunities. The movie, like, the overall story is really good, and yet they get to the end and they're like trying to change it too much, but not enough, and it just. So I would say, like, the original Flashpoint story, the ending and the lesson very learned from it is really impactful, really emotional, and really, really good. Even in the TV series, the CW one, but here in the movie, it just sort of happens. You're like, oh, well, I guess that happens. You're gonna wrap up the movie. You're gonna give us another 10 minutes, do something. So yeah. There are a lot of cameos in this, digital cameos as well, because it is a multiverse movie. I'll just say that one of the cameos doesn't make sense at all. Why is he there? And the one I really want is not there. And when you see it, and you're a DC fan, you would know. If you're not a DC fan, you'd be like, who the hell is that? I don't know who that is. It's really weird. I might talk about the cameos in the spoiler section first, just to get out of the way. You only want to know what cameos are in this movie. Okay, for me, Final Fantasy is the film is fine. The pacing is good, humor. It's not over the top like Marvel stuff. It makes sense when it happens. There's some very nostalgic bits in it, trying to bait you, of course. But outside of all of that, it's fine. It's not the best DC movie, not even the best DCEU movie. For me personally, I like the slower paced world building stuff. I actually, aside from the a few stupid things in Man of Steel, I like that more. I like the extended ultimate cut of BVS or the Snyder Cut of Justice League of these movies. And then outside the DCEU, I really like the Batman. That's a really good film for me. So this one is just action. Kind of show people they will love it because it's fast paced. It doesn't bog down with things that are too sad or too dark. It just keeps rolling along. But for DC fans, there's definitely something left that you like. I wish they would have done a bit more with this. For a film that was made such a long time, with many reshoots and stuff, there's still something missing for the DC fan. But for casual fans, they'd be like, yeah, it's fine. It's also action. It was fun. It's kind of funny at places and emotional and others and whatever. So it's fine, the movie. Okay, moving on to spoilers. I'm only going to talk about the cameos first. So, the first cameo is Wonder Woman. She shows up, helps out on the battle scenes. They make another gag with her lasso, like wrapped around the Batman and Flash again, and it's like they did with Aquaman and Justice League. And it's like, you've already done this joke before. It gets a little bit awkward, but she shows up, helps for like 2 minutes, and she's gone. Henry Cavill's Superman is in the movie. You see him on a TV screen, but it's just the back of him. He's like doing something with a volcano. We don't see his face, so is it really a cameo? And then with Zod himself, he is one of the villains of the movie, and you do get to see the big guy. Don't see his face, but you do get the woman showing her face. I forgot her name, but she shows up, so you got that cameo too. And then finally, we have a barrage of cameos right in the middle, where Barry's going for like the multiverse and stuff. Cameos that make sense. He sees Animalist Batman, the voice of Caesar Romero Joker. Makes sense. You get to see a really touching moment of the Christopher Reeve's digitized Christopher Reeve Superman, and then comes in, I forgot her name, but comes in Supergirl standing next to him. So you finally see what's supposed to be in the same world, these two together. So it's really cool. It's kind of touching. One of our other cameos is Nicolas Cage Superman, which for DC fans that makes sense because we have a Tim Burton Batman, so now we have a Tim Burton Superman as well. But for non-DC fans, they're like, wait, why is Nick Cage in here? It's cool to see Nick Cage, but why is he in this movie? He fights a robot spider, and it's a full scene, so it's kind of cool. It's like a minute long or so. And and then there was a really odd cameo in this. We have Zoom dressed up as Jay Garrick from the CW Flash. He's running along. He does a little look at Barry like, "What, you running through the Speed Force or something?" Acknowledging Ezra Miller Flash. So for most people, they'd be like, "Who's that?" Some people are like, "Is that Jay Garrick?" Because I read some comic books. But for me, I'm like, I know who that is. That's Zoom. Like, why is the cameo Zoom? Everyone's been asking for Grant Gustin. Like, you couldn't put him in there. You put Zoom in there. Unless he's a future villain in the movies or something like, well, that's actually really amazing. A multiverse TV character goes to the multiverse movie universe and becomes a villain there. That would be amazing, but what? Like, that's a wasted, like, what? Like, I had no idea. Why is Zoom in the movie? But like the Titans TV show, Multiverse made more sense when Beast Boy was just seeing all these different worlds. The Crisis on Infinite Earth cameos made sense. Like you couldn't put a digitized version of the original Flash TV show as Jay Garrick or Barry. You couldn't put Grant Gustin. You couldn't put the Reverse Flash in there. Why Zoom? Okay, so in terms of cameos, I'm gonna have to talk about the ending scene as well as original ending scenes and stuff. So one of the end credits scenes is that some time has passed. Barry has traveled to many other multiverses, seen many other versions, and he's talking to Aquaman. So he's in there, drinking too much. One of the original scenes was cut off from my version is that when at the end, when Bruce Wayne gets out of the car, when Flash is supposed to have returned to his old world, he hasn't quite done that. It's George Clooney. So that's kind of funny. I didn't get to see that. I think I heard this voice on the phone though in the movie, but I just got to see it. And one of the original endings that was removed from the movie was that Barry returned to his original world, and after a while later, you'll get a static video call from the Ben Affleck Batman saying like they're all trapped somewhere in some multiverse shenanigans, something which would lead to a multiverse movie, which sounds like it would have been fun, but too early to do. But we don't get that. So those are the leaked endings and stuff. So no, we still don't get to see the Batman. It's so for the actual film itself. So for the actual spoiler of the story itself, what you see in the trailer is right at the beginning, they're trying to save a hospital from falling apart because a bank heist went wrong. So criminals, they got some like really toxic chemicals, so Batman's chasing them, and Flash needs to help save survivors from the hospital. And which he does, but he didn't eat quite enough, so sugar levels are really low, so that's like his power levels on the suit. And there's one scene when he's saving some babies falling out the window, and that's not Ally McBeal famous baby CG bad, but it's pretty bad. Like, that was probably the worst CG scene in the entire movie. It looks like a cartoon, but it was entertaining enough that it was okay. It's fine. It's entertaining. After he does that, he's running, and then he sort of goes back in time just a little bit, seeing the babies again, which is awkward. So he saves the people at the hospital. Batman solves the criminals, but he's hanging off a bridge with these chemicals over the ocean that would kill a lot of people. And Alfred, Jerry Irons is in this movie, and he's talking to him, and then one woman shows up and gives a helping hand, where we get to the lasso joke again, and she's just like, "I'm done here, bye," and flies off. So she can fly now, and confirmed in this movie universe. And after that, that night, story goes into Flash talking to his father on the phone. His father's in prison still for allegedly murdering his mother. And Bruce sends him a USB thing of a camera footage that they cleaned up of a supermarket where his father was buying cans of tomato soup. But he doesn't look up, so he can't identify that as his father. So he gets really upset about the next day. He runs back and he goes back in time just a little bit, like a day. Like, oh, he's looking at those CG babies again. And he talks to Bruce, be like, hey, I can go back further in time now, more than I did in the Snyder Cut of the Justice League. So he tells Batman's like, no, don't do it. He's like, what if next day at court it doesn't quite go as planned or something? And so he runs all the way back, and he changes the time. He puts an extra can of tomato soup in his mom's basket so she remembers it. Which changes the timeline and just go back to the future, but something knocks him out of his time running, which is the villain of the movie, pushes him out, so he falls too early. He ends up in a time where he is still 18, because the kid version of him is a little bit annoying and a bit more of a hippie type character. Yeah, I didn't like that Flash too much. He does get better eventually when he starts learning things, but right off the bat he's a little bit annoying. So we got timeline shenanigans going on, and the Flash is like, look, I need to get back to my time, but I also need to make sure you get the power so you become the Flash, otherwise timeline doesn't make sense. But in doing so, me creating the accident, things messed up. The young Flash gets the power, older Flash does not, he loses his power. So, and then as the timeline just so happens that a few days later is when Solid fades planet Earth, but then he starts asking young Flash, is like, hey, this is, when Superman comes along, and this person or that person comes along, but in this world there are no metas. Flash is the only meta. This Aquaman isn't even born, like, doesn't exist. So he's like, crap, messed up. You can't save it because you don't have any training and stuff. And he starts telling the people say like, hey, Batman exists. So they go find Batman, which turns out to be the key to Batman, and explains to them like, instead of creating an alternate future, instead of timeline splitting up into the future, it actually made another one like this, because the future is based on the past. So you just discovered a different timeline entirely, meaning that all these other multiverse timelines and stuff. And through this time, you explore the Batcave, you see all this stuff. By the way, Batmobile never actually goes into action, you just see it. So it's just a Batwing, the new Batwing that goes out. So no old plastic Batmobile, actually, unfortunately. Seeing the cave, the house, the kitchen where he's talking to Vicky Vale is all very awesome to see all those sets. It's pretty cool. Eventually, they find out that there is a Superman or super person, as it were, but he never landed in Kansas, but landed in like a Russian base or something. So he wants to go save whoever the Superman is, and Batman's like, okay, let's get done, and famous line, and then they all go. And then they find Supergirl who's trapped in this ball. This is what they take it for the real Flashpoint comic. They save her, they beat some people up. At first she's like, no, I don't want to help you. You guys, world sucks, it's not my world. And then she flies away, and then she sees Zod kill some humans. She's like, oh, that kind of sucks. And she flies back. I'm like, is that scene necessary? It either feels too fast for her to turn around, or the scene was wrong. Because afterwards she asks Flash, hey, why did you save me, even though I'm not Superman that you're looking for? And then Flash is like, because she needed help. Of course, I'll save you. She's like, okay, I'll help you. That's all you needed? Instead, she had to go fly off, be a emo for a bit, and then come back. But then if she flies off, be emo for a bit, doesn't make sense that she changes her mind so quickly when she comes back. Okay, cut the scene or make it longer where she sees civilians get killed and not a bunch of army dudes get killed by Zod. Okay, whatever. So that was a weird scene. So she comes back and then she sees that Barry has asked Batman to say, hey, young Barry can't do this with you. You need me as the Flash. Let's recreate the accident in the Batcave. It doesn't quite work out, and Supergirl comes in and like, I'm just gonna fly you up in the sky, find some lightning, and zap you in the sky, as it were. So unlike the original Flashpoint where they zap it twice, and you don't, and these are all like birds and stuff after the first zap. In this movie, it's not as brutal or dark. He just kind of looks a bit like dark and bird stuff. Like he's put some black ash on his skin. It's not that brutal. And then Supergirl just comes in and takes him to the clouds, saying, hey, you go, zap you again, and he's got the Flash powers. And then so they go and fight off the Zod people because they gotta save the world because they're the only superheroes around. But it doesn't work. Supergirl and Batman keep dying, they keep messing up, and it turns out that Flash has fast healing, but some of the Kryptonians stab some Kryptonian metal into the young Flash, and it's scarring him. It's not coming out, and so that metal can seriously damage him. And so young Flash is like, hey, we can go back in time, right? Let's just do that. And then they keep looping and looping and looping, but Batman and Supergirl always dies. This is a doomed world. It doesn't work. And then so old Flash and young Flash are stuck in this little time bubble, talking to each other, arguing about it, and young Flash is like, no, I'm gonna go back and keep doing it. And then because it keeps trying to reset to force this new timeline, whereas I guess this is like a singularity point where this world is doomed, I guess this is from the Dark Multiverse or something, it keeps going back, and then keeps getting more hurt, and then he keeps getting more kryptonite metal stuck in him, and then eventually this future version of the young one comes along, and this the black suit. You see in the action figures, this whole messed up black suit because it's got like infected with this Kryptonian metal and scarring and stuff. And he's like, I've almost got it. I can do it. And then Flash is like, no, you can't. Look at you. How many times, a million times you've done this already? He's like, I've done this for like 50 years or something. He's trapped in this time loop. And then young Flash also his older self and be like, oh my god, I got to become that person. And then older Flash is like, you're not gonna stop me. And then the old Flash is like, no, you gotta stop. And the old Flash is like, I'm gonna punch you now and then get you out the way. And then the younger Flash is like, no, I'm gonna stop my older self, and sacrifices himself. So the young Flash dies, so the older Flash never happens, and we only got the original Flash left. And I'm like, this goes on way too fast. Like, what's going on? You get all these cameos happening because the multiverse is colliding with each other because they keep messing with time. So you've got all those cameos happening. And meanwhile, you got this young Flash who keeps saying, I'm going to reset the time, keep doing it. And then this old version of young Flash suddenly shows up. And you're like, are they going to fight? Are they going to have an epiphany or something? It would be really cool if regular Flash 1 fights the older version of Flash 2 for a while. Something epic happens, something emotional happens, until eventually the young Flash is like, no, I can't let this happen anymore. Like, this older version of myself is going to kill the original Flash. But none of that happens. It's just like, Old Flash is like, I'm a fan of you, I look up to you, tries to kill him, and then just dies. And then it's like, did we miss a scene here? The idea that the younger Flash would get so bitter and stuck in this loop, but then changes his mind so easily when he sees the older self, doesn't make sense. Like, come on, you need a little bit type of change. So Supergirl changes too fast, and then younger Flash also changes his mind too fast. Like, I know it's Flash, but why is it happening so fast? So then we only have one Flash left, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna have to have the original timeline happen. My mom's gonna die. He goes back to see his mom as an adult just one last time, and his mom consents that that's his son, even though he's like way older. There's a touching moment. It's really nice, actually. And he goes back to the future, but he does just change one thing for the future. He swaps the positions of the tomato cans, so that in the original CCTV footage, his dad's wearing a cap, you can see his face. Now it's CCTV footage, he looks up. And so back in the present time, where everything is mostly the same as the original timeline, his dad gets out of prison because he's in the CCTV footage. So everything seems good until Bruce Wayne's car shows up, he gets out, and this is where we supposedly have George Clooney as a cameo. And he's like, who the hell are you? Is my biggest problem with the movie is that the ending just kind of flops. The first half of the movie, all the action scenes that we see, and then Keaton Batman shows up, it's all really good. The Flash action scenes are also really good. Uses his Speed Force really well. There's some good humor in there, here and there. And the emotion scenes are actually very, very touching, very, very good. But there's no final villain. In the original Flashpoint story, we have to reverse Flash from Hawkingberry, like, haha, you're the one who messed up. It's not me for once. Not the villain who messed up, it's the hero who messed up. Where Barry has to learn a very valuable lesson, trying to fix everything, go back, and it's very impactful when he has to help on make sure his mom dies. And so the original Flashpoint story was very good that way. And there was also some very touching moments between Batman's father and Batman, and that's really good, but we don't get any of that there. Not only do we get that super impactful moment where the hero's like, crap, I'm the one who messed up. I'm being mocked now by my arch nemesis because we don't have the Reverse Flash yet in this movie universe. We don't have that, so instead we have a villain that doesn't even really do villainy stuff. He's just kind of like, I want to do it, and I looked up to you, and now I'm dead. And it's just kind of like, okay. And the Dark Flash, or whatever you want to call this version of it, is, there could have been something kind of creepy and scary about him, like, oh, the Kryptonian metal's messed up with his mind because his body is damaged and infected, and so his mind's gone all weird and stuff, like, we're going to create a new future, that's all, blah, 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 and stuff. He could have been some dark multiverse, from DC's death metal series or something, version of Flash, but no, he doesn't. He hasn't, like, purposely murdered anyone, he hasn't done anything crazy evil, he just keeps going, and then he dies, and that's it. So, yeah, the ending is fine, the touching moments are fine, but it just kind of flops. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the new DCU for the news stories and stuff. Looking forward to the Batman 2. I'm looking forward to Blue Beetle. It looks okay for a lower budget movie. Like, I'm not expecting a big superhero movie, but for what it is, I'm expecting a Kamen Rider level movie. So yes, would I recommend you go see it? Yeah, I would. I would recommend you go see it in IMAX just because some of the action scenes are pretty amazing to see. Overall, it's a decent movie. It's definitely better than the last few DC movies like Shazam 2 and Black Adam and stuff. Black Adam has some pretty good parts in it, but this is definitely better than that. And it's also better than the last few Marvel movies I've seen, except for Guardians 3. That was really, really good and sad, but it's really good. So, yeah, it's better than most of the superhero fatigue DC Marvel superhero movies, so go see it. Subscribe to the comment below, guys. Take care, have a nice day. I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.